The day opened with a hush so gentle it felt almost intentional, as though the morning itself wished not to disturb the fragile peace inside the little wooden house. Light filtered through the grapefruit leaves overhead, scattering faint glimmers across the porch where half-finished wedding decorations waited. Chairs, still dusty from being carried out the night before, were stacked neatly against the railing. Lanterns, ribbons, and strings of lights hung between the trees, catching shards of dawn in their glass. It was meant to be a week of simple joy, of folded tablecloths, soft laughter, warm sunlight, and small family moments stitched quietly into the bigger fabric of a life they were still learning to build. Yet beneath it all, James carried the look of a man who feared that calm might slip between his fingers at any moment. Deep stepped onto the porch with a neatly folded cloth resting on her arm. She gave it a gentle shake, letting the breeze straighten it out. Nearby, James stood perched on a short ladder, adjusting a lantern with a deliberate steadiness, too deliberate, as if the carefulness of his hands could mask the restlessness stirring behind his eyes. "You hung them well," Deep said softly. Her voice threaded seamlessly into the morning, grounding the moment. "I hope so," James murmured, offering a small smile. "I want everything to feel simple." "Warm, for a garden wedding?" she teased lightly. "Simple is perfect." He nodded, but a quiet shadow lingered in the corners of his expression. Before she could ask, the crunch of gravel broke the calm. Both turned toward the gate as a faded blue car rolled slowly to a stop. The engine died. Birdsong and wind reclaimed the space almost immediately. A young woman stepped out. She closed the door carefully, almost apologetically, and stood still for a long moment, taking in the wooden beams of the house, the trees, the porch, the quiet life arranged before her. Something about her posture suggested hesitation, as if she were weighing whether she deserved to stand where she stood. Deep instinctively straightened the cloth in her hands. James froze on the ladder rung. The woman lifted her gaze. "James," she said, her voice nearly a whisper. He stepped down slowly, the lantern swaying behind him. "Anne." Deep glanced between the two, not with suspicion but with a gentle curiosity born from a woman who had known storms of her own and was no longer afraid of shadows. "I'm sorry to come without warning," Anne said. "I wasn't sure where else to go." There was no sharpness in her tone, no drama, just the soft weight of an unexpected memory settling between them. Deep stepped forward, her warmth immediate and disarming. "Hi, I'm Deep. Would you like some tea?" Anne hesitated, then nodded. "If it's not too much trouble, it's not. You came a long way." They moved to the porch where Deep had already set small teacups beside a pot and thin slices of dried grapefruit peel. As she poured, her movements were steady, giving the moment room to breathe. For a while they simply sat, letting the tea warm their hands and melt the awkwardness. "I heard you moved out here," Anne finally said to James. "It's true," he replied quietly. "I needed a fresh start. In the city, you were carrying a kind of darkness," she said gently. "One I didn't know how to help you out of." He looked down. Deep watched him with quiet understanding. "You helped me once," Anne continued, "when you barely had anything left for yourself. I never forgot. And when you left without a word, I only hoped you were all right." James released a slow breath. "I'm not proud of who I was back then," he said. "It feels like a lifetime ago." Anne looked toward the garden, where bits of wedding decor glimmered faintly in the light. "This place suits you," she said. "It looks like peace." James's eyes drifted to Deep. She had a lot to do with that. Something softened in Anne, a small warmth, an acceptance. "I'm glad you found this," she said. A breeze whispered through the grapefruit leaves, scattering flecks of sunlight across their faces. After a moment, Anne rose. "I should go. I didn't mean to intrude." "You weren't intruding," Deep said. "Thank you for coming." James walked Anne to the gate. No confessions, no tangled threads. Just two people acknowledging a piece of the past that no longer held any power over the present. "Take care, Anne," he said. "You too, James. And congratulations." Her car rolled down the dirt road until the sound faded into nothing. When James returned, Deep was smoothing the cloth again, anchoring the moment back into their shared home. "You all right?" she asked. He nodded. "I didn't expect to see her again. Some people appear only long enough to show us how far we've come." James looked out at the garden, their garden, and nodded, gratitude softening his features. Another house sat unusually quiet. Time has a way of shrinking rooms when children grow up and leave. The walls held fading photographs, a wedding portrait, a boy in a school uniform, a family standing proudly in front of a company building. Mrs. Huyen stood in the doorway, a tray of tea in her hands. Her husband sat at the table, reading documents without interest. The light revealed deep lines carved by years of expectations, disappointments, and unspoken fears. "I made tea," she said softly. "You should drink it before it cools." He didn't look up at first. Then finally, with a short, though not harsh, reply, "Thank you," she sat opposite him. For a while, the only sound was the steady ticking of the wall clock. I went to see James and Deep yesterday, she said. His jaw tightened. The house looks good, she went on. Simple, but warm. They've been working hard preparing the garden. You don't have to tell me about that wedding. I do, she replied calmly. Because he is still our son. The words settled between them, not heavy, but irrevocably true. He walked away from everything, her husband muttered. The company, the position. And now he expects me to pretend this is fine. He doesn't need you to pretend, she said. He just hopes you'll come, he scoffed. This isn't just about a wedding. Then what does it mean to you? She asked gently. His sigh was tired, not angry. It means watching my son marry a woman with a complicated past. Standing with a child that isn't his. People will whisper. They'll question him. They'll question me. She listened without interrupting. You're worried about how it looks, she said. I understand. You've spent your life protecting reputation. But when you stand in that garden, will you really be thinking about what strangers whisper? He said nothing. She continued softly. I saw how he looks at her. How he holds that little girl's hand. How he fixed a crooked lantern because he wanted their day to feel perfect. For the first time in years, I saw our son settled. Peaceful. His grip tightened around the teacup. You've always been too soft, he muttered. Perhaps, she said, smiling faintly. But softness is what keeps a family together when pride tries to pull it apart. Silence returned. I'm not asking you to love deep, she said. Or suddenly feel close to little NHI. I'm only asking you to come. To let our son see his father among the guests, and if I don't? Then he will still get married, she said. But there will be an empty space inside him where you could have stood. Something in his expression cracked, the smallest fracture in a long-standing wall. I'm not ready, he whispered. You may not be, she said. But the day will still come. She stood, smoothing her dress. I'm going back to help them prepare. If you decide to come, there will always be a place for you. He didn't answer, but she had seen enough to know something had begun to shift. Afternoon settled softly over the yard. Deep was tying ribbons around napkins. Little NHI sat beside her, drawing flowers with intense concentration. James entered, smelling faintly of the earth outside. How's it looking out there? Deep asked. Almost ready, he said. The lights are holding. The chairs are straight. The garden is trying its best. She looked up. You sound more at peace. He leaned against the doorway. I've been thinking, he said. About all the people who carried pieces of my story before I reached this house. Old colleagues, my father, people like Anne who saw me at my worst and still wished me well. And your mother, Deep added. He nodded. And my mother, she went to see him today, he said quietly. My father, Deep paused mid-tie. Do you think it will change anything? I don't know. But it means something that she tried. Nhi lifted her drawing. Papa. This is our garden. And this is you, and Mama, and me throwing flowers. James smiled, a full, unguarded smile. It's beautiful, he said. He took Deep's hand. We may not have everyone with us, he whispered. But we have this. You, Nhi, my mother, this house, this garden, and that's enough. Deep squeezed his hand. Sometimes the people who can't walk with us still help shape the road that led us here. Outside, the lanterns flickered to life. The wooden house glowed softly. A wedding was coming, not perfect, not universally blessed, but true. And somewhere in town, an older man sat quietly, holding pride in one hand, and for the first time, wondering what it might cost him to keep it. In the end, the smallest moments we choose to protect become the home we return to.